Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. As you guys know, we've been covering this Revolve Fest that a lot of Bachelor alumni attended. We have Kelly Flanagan here, Victoria Fuller, several others. Of course, the Kardashians. It was the who's who of who cares going on over there outside of Coachella Festival in the desert, which is like an hour or two from Los Angeles, although depending on traffic can be 4 hours because there's like a 1 or 2 lane highway just to get into the desert. And it's a wild event. So Revolve is the clothing company and they held a festival. As we've said, the logistics were horrible. They weren't able to get people in. They had to wait outside in some just bad location in the middle of nowhere in a desert for hours to get in. So we're going to get into that story. Do me a favor, follow me on Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal for behind the scenes content, and on Instagram @DNeals. And also, right after this, chances are while you're watching this, I'll be covering Johnny Depp's trial on the Dave Neal Show. So if you want to watch some live streams, today the Dave Neal Show will have Johnny Depp's trial live. They're on a 15-minute break, so we're making this video, and then we're going to go right back to that. It's fascinating. It's interesting. You can join the chat and have that discussion. All right, so a couple of videos. If you weren't caught up, here is what the scene looked like as the buses pulled up to Revolve Fest, and in just a gaggle of influencers, no lines, just running, trying to get on buses, people yelling, telling the bouncers how important they were. It was just a disaster. So there they are, all waiting to get in here. And this is a new video that was found. Let me see your bands if you're an influencer. Watch these poor security guards.
This is ridiculous.
It is.
This is ridiculous. Get back. Let me see your bands if you're an influencer.
We have the bands. We're good.
Okay. Slowly get on the bus.
They look like Trader Joe's employees. Like, slowly get on the bus, paper or plastic. What do you need? So influencers got in for free, but of course there's no such thing as a free lunch. Influencers had to pay, in the price of promoting all the brand products, and then other people paid $2,000 to get in. Revolve addresses accusations comparing its Coachella party to Fyre Fest. Global online retailer Revolve, fast fashion company, is shutting down comparisons between its Revolve Festival and the infamous Fyre Fest. Obviously, Fyre Fest never happened. It was a disaster on a Bahamian island. It was a disaster. It never happened. The FEMA tents were all. It was people could barely get fed or no flights. It was a disaster. Whereas this event happened, but it was still a disaster. Rightfully, you can compare disasters. It's like this is a Class 2 hurricane as opposed to Fyre Fest being a Class 5. In anticipation of the high level of interest in attending Revolve Festival this year, Revolve worked closely with all appropriate city and safety authorities to ensure a safe and secure path for guests to access the 2-day invitation-only event, a rep exclusively tells E! News. With an event of this magnitude, city regulations mandate an off-site location for guest check-in and parking, as well as licensed shuttle transportation to and from the venue. The off-site lot was set up with guest parking, as well as rideshare drop-off and pickup access, with added Wi-Fi for car booking, restrooms, shade, water, medics, and security. As the festival was reaching capacity late Saturday afternoon, the statement continues, shuttle access to the venue was limited in order to remain in compliance with safety requirements, causing longer wait times for entry and resulting in some guests not being able to attend the fest. The safety of our guests is of the utmost importance to us, and we will always make that a priority. Ultimately, Revolve plans to improve come its next event. We sincerely apologize to all the guests who were impacted. We always strive to provide a great experience, and we promise to do better. The statement comes after attendees voiced complaints about the event, which was held by Revolve as an invite-only party in La Quinta, California, and included guests such as the Kardashians, Post Malone, and Jack Harlow. There it is. LA Magazine editor Joseph Kapsch tweeted about the event, citing sources on the ground, including one who compared it to 2017's Fyre Fest. Influencers stranded in the dirt with no water, under the hot sun for hours, waiting for buses that were coming to bring them to the actual festival. Alleged fights, screaming, everyone is dizzy. Everyone is dizzy. Here's the deal. They had a tent, okay, and I'm sure they had water. Security had crowds of influencers yelling how important they were and why they deserved the first seat. This sounds like the saddest version of Titanic. Women and influencers first. Give me your blue check marks first. TikToker Hannah Kosh, who said she was at the 2022 Revolve Festival, agreed with the description. You guys, it was all of that and more. People were raiding the buses. The bus drivers refused to come back. I saw 3 people pass out passed out in line myself. All right, that's interesting. So it's like, who's the captain now? Just raiding buses, just a bunch of, Coachella pirates. Meanwhile, Avery Bishop posted footage of herself on TikTok waiting in line for 2 hours. Oh, everyone pray for Avery. for the buses to Revolve Fest. There was pushing, shoving, shouting, yanking in front of the buses, people standing in between the buses like while they were moving. Gosh, I hate to make the comparison, but it sounds like the military withdrawal from Afghanistan. People just clutching onto tire wells of airplanes trying to get out of there. Clearly, these influencers have never suffered so much. So anyway, there it is. Look, here's the deal, right? Revolve invited people and then couldn't service them. This is like if there was 100 bookings at a popular restaurant, and the chef knew they could only feed 60 people. It's like, well, this is on you. This is your fault, Revolve. And they didn't seem nearly as apologetic as one might think they should be, considering this is their logistical error. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been to Coachella. It is a disaster getting in and out of the party. It's huge. There's literally 100,000 people. Revolve Fest, obviously a lot smaller than that. But why they decide to do it on the same weekend of Coachella? Probably because they know they can get people that are already in the desert that can't get into Coachella or want to, they kind of feed off the Coachella vibe. But they have to understand the infrastructure's already maxed out at Coachella, right? The infrastructure's already maxed out. And the ability to, service all of them is greatly compromised. There's only so many Uber drivers out there. What a nightmare. Could you imagine being an Uber driver at one of these events? The girls are all covered in glitter and oil, and it's like, I just got my back seats cleaned. Can you not get, glitter oil everywhere? I got to return this car. It's a lease. And they're just complaining, it's just that everyone's sweating because, they couldn't get into the thing. I don't know, folks. As far as PR goes, you want to put out the fire if you're Revolve and say, hey, no pun intended. Hey, this isn't as bad as as Fyre Fest. It's like, no, of course it's not. But it was bad. And, but here's the deal, right? We've talked about this in the past. The Revolve, they gift clothing to people in exchange for content, and for some influencers it's a fair deal if they're getting something out of it. It's like I said before, no such thing as a free lunch. You get some free clothes, you got to tag about it, there's a contract there, post about it X amount of times. But Revolve doesn't lose money. They're not in the business of losing money. They're a business. So while they might take a loss by giving away a bunch of stuff or whatever at this event, they're making their money back on the impressions that they're getting from the people that they invite. Where they went wrong is, I'm assuming if, say they could only house 10,000 people. They said, all right, we're going to invite 25,000 people. That way we'll get to the 10,000 max. And then someone might say, well, what if you get to 15,000? Well, F those people. F them, And kind of that's just how it works. It's almost like an airline, right? Airlines overbook flights. And you go, oh my gosh, we got to kick 3 people off the flight. And it's like, well, that's better for the airline to have a flight at 100% capacity than it is for a flight to be at 90% capacity. So let's oversell the flight, hope a couple people don't show up and get to that sweet spot number. Well, Revolve oversold it, and they're doing a pretty bad job apologizing. Let me know what you guys think about this, and I'll catch you over there on the Dave Neal Show to watch the Johnny Depp testimony. Bye, guys.